Maybe you saw the sermon title there, Can I Just Stay Here? And that comes from, I'll go back just a little bit. So it's been such a pleasure these past few years, I think now 4 summers, to be a part of Camp Kumbaya in the day camp in the summer. I get to help with the music. They let me do that, which is so nice. And of course, many of you already know the tradition. The tradition is at the end of each day, before camp is dismissed and all the children go home, we gather together in a circle, don't we? And we call it the friendship circle. And in that circle, we sing Kumbaya, which is a beautiful moment, really, together. We all see each other. No one can hide. We're all singing the song Kumbaya. And of course, Kumbaya it means come by here. And initially, of course, it was a prayer. It was sung as a prayer and a prayer to God, inviting God to come here. And but as we look at each other and we sing Kumbaya, we not only are inviting God, of course, we're inviting each other to be a part of one another's lives. And it's such a powerful moment, I think, every day as it ends. And of course, many of you have experienced this yourselves. And so such a neat moment. And you could tell. And so I remember one little boy, after we had finished singing the song and we let go of each other's hands, and he comes up to me, and as many children do, because I have a guitar with me, which is always exciting. But the little boy comes up to, he could not have been more than 5 years old, and he comes up to me and he says, can I just stay here? I of course tell him, oh, I'm so sorry, but we're all leaving. Even the staff, we're all going to our own homes. And he was really perplexed by that. I think he thought we all lived there. I didn't want to tell him that I lived right there, but just to let him know that we're all going to our own homes. But he seemed so sad, but he understood we were all leaving. Because I think in that moment, he understood that what he wanted wasn't just the trees or the campfire or the swimming. What he wanted was what we all want and what we all greatly enjoy. And that was community. He was only 5 years old, but he craved community. And I think we all do. And that really started me thinking, what is community? And because I think it's what we all want. There's an energy that comes when multiple humans are connecting with each other, especially in that landscape of nature where we can see clearly God's creation and we feel connected to God, to creation, and very importantly, to one another. It's like almost a family. And I know he was feeling that. I could sense it. And I love that concept of come by here because we had been singing it all week. Kumbaya, to each other, inviting one another into our lives, into an experience together. Come by here. So his question, can I just stay here, is a beautiful question, or a request. It's not even a question, it was a request. Can I just stay here? Now, this past week, I had a unique opportunity to help lead with other leaders, including my son, Elijah, and Tasha from our community, Tasha Gillum, but to lead about 20 University of Lynchburg students on a local civil rights tour. We started our tour up at the Moton School in Farmville. And we learned and we heard the stories, of 16-year-old Barbara Johns from the Moton School, a school that was segregated. It was the school for students of color. And in 1951, this 16-year-old helped lead a walkout, a strike for the 400 students because the conditions at the school had become so abysmal, so substandard, so not acceptable. It was separate, but not equal. And so she alone but then with the 400 walked out that day for a strike that would eventually evolve into a court case that would help topple the law of the day. And it started what would be not only desegregation of schools, but desegregation of all public spaces and desegregation as a society of what we, accept with one another. It was an invitation or an opportunity to kumbaya. And I think about Barbara Jones, and as we were sitting there, all of these students, I think, were just, mortified, first of all, that things were so segregated and so terrible. Right under, our history, just right under our noses here in Central Virginia. But I just thought about Barbara Johns, how brave of a person she was to step out as a 16-year-old woman, young person, to step out like that and to lead. I just can't even imagine it. But I think the secret ingredient is definitely, in this case, community. They walked out together. And then after we had visited the school in Farmville, we came back here to downtown Lynchburg, and we couched ourselves in the wonderful historic sanctuary of the Court Street Baptist Church. And here we were in this kind of hollowed ground of people, this church, the first Black church in our city, and built by the formerly enslaved people of the city and area, the counties. And sitting in that sanctuary together, a place where Barbara Johns's uncle, Vernon Johns, had been pastor twice. And thinking and hearing that story of how these people with nothing built together this sanctuary, and then just a few short years, 6 years later, turned around and built what was then called the Virginia Seminary, Theological Seminary, which is our historically Black college university here, VUL, Virginia University of Lynchburg. And how these formerly enslaved folks who just had a heart to do something for their children, for their people here, and how and themselves having come out of such oppression, not even many able to read themselves, but yet building the first higher education institution here. Absolutely amazing. And to think of all the churches that were born out of Court Street Baptist, many of the Black churches, all the Black Baptist churches that would come out of there, and then so many great leaders of color all over the South and even the North that would come through the Virginia Seminary. It's just amazing. How could they do it? How could they do it? Community. They did it together. And so I guess I've just been on this journey this week of being reminded over and over the power of community. People together can move mountains. When Jesus said, if you have faith of just a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, jump into the sea, and it will do it. Maybe when Jesus said that, now that I'm thinking back, Jesus said it to a crowd of people. And maybe when he said it, he said, when you, all of you, When you believe, when you have faith, you can move mountains. And it takes all of us. I realize the power of community. I think that's what this week has been for me, is a week of learning and being reminded of when we come together, we can accomplish the impossible. It takes all of us. And may our arms be open to receive more people into this growing, diverse community that we are building together. May our hearts be open to receive all those without any expectation of anything in return, as Jesus said. The blind, the disabled, the poor, those who are suffering, let their suffering become our own. We gain nothing in this life except community. Community with one another. May we be willing to grow into one another. May our invitation be seen by the people on the margins and the people on the edges and the people in the cracks, that we want to be community together. This is the way we're going to move mountains. God bless. Shalom. Thank you.